Hi, I'm Cliff, and this is my garage. Today, we're going to be installing some new camber plates from Elephant Racing. Hey, welcome back to the garage. And if this is your first time joining me, thanks for dropping by. Now, as most of you know, I have been working on a lot of upgrades for the Cayman for the last year as part of Project 987.2. And as my interest in high performance driver education at track days went up, then I started doing a lot more mods related to track performance. And a big one of those things that I need to really improve is the suspension on the Cayman. Now, the Cayman handles amazingly well. It's really very, very good, but we can make it even better. And one of the things that we need to do is to get a proper alignment. One of the components to the alignment of the car is something called camber. And camber has to do with normally you think of the wheels being straight up and down on the car, when in reality, they're generally tipped in toward the center just a little bit. The top of the tire is tipped in, and it's not much. The standard alignment on the Cayman is a 1/4 degree of camber, not much at all. The problem is when you get onto the track, you're coring really, really hard, and the combination of body roll and other things cause you to really need more camber than that. You end up rolling up onto the side of the tire, which tears up the tire and also causes you to lose traction. On the track, you really want 2 to 3 degrees of camber. Now, the problem is that on the Cayman, you can't do that. The way you adjust camber on the Cayman is at the top of the strut, there are these 3 bolts or studs that go through slotted holes, and you slide these back and forth to adjust the camber. And you slide it towards the middle of the car for more negative camber, and you slide it toward the outside of the car for more positive camber. Well, the problem is that the way this is set up, those slotted holes only give you enough play to get about 1/2 degree of negative camber. That's the most you can do. You can't even come close to getting 2 to 3 degrees of negative camber like we want for the track. Contrast that with the camber plate from Elephant Racing. Now, on this one, it has the same 3 studs, so you get that same amount of motion, but beyond that, you can max out your camber with the plates, with the bolts, the studs rather, hitting the end of those slotted holes. But since the plate itself has slotted holes, you can go even further. There's a greater range of motion is possible by using this type of a camber plate. And hopefully it'll get us up there into the 2 degree range. The issue is that the way the Cayman is designed and this camber plate is that you can't max out the adjustment of the camber plate because you're going to end up running into the body itself. Another issue is whether or not you have PASM, Porsche Active Suspension Management. Now, if you have PASM, the top of your strut looks a little different than a non-PASM car. The reason the 2 struts are different has to do with the wire that comes out for the PASM control. It runs up through the top, and so there's a slightly different design, which causes a couple of different issues, but we can work around those, and I'll show you how to do that.
For instructions on removing and disassembling the front struts of the Cayman, refer to my detailed video guide. There should be a link in the upper right hand corner of the screen, but I'll also put a link in the video description below. Okay, so let's put this new camber plate on. Now, do yourself a favor and make sure that you zip tie the slidey part onto the actual camber plate. You can see the direction of the slots. So the direction of the slots points toward the middle of the car. And this one up here is like will point toward the middle of the car. So these two are in the back and the easiest to get to
to cut this out later. And the reason for this is every time I try to put this in without doing this, the little ring just kind of falls down, manages to fall its way past the spring seat and onto the spring. And then it's like one of those old bent nail bar puzzles. You just can't get it back up around here. So do yourself a favor so you don't lose your mind and zip tie that thing. Now, the problem with this washer is that when it's in the car, you try and adjust this and get as much camber as possible. This edge of the oh, good Lord. This edge of the washer hits the body and keeps you from moving the plate as far as you should be able to. So what we need to do is take off about half an inch of this washer down to just cut off all of the flare part that's sloping up. Now you can do this with a bench grinder or a cutoff wheel. I'm going to use a mill. And just because I've got one and it's handy and it's very, very controlled, but you certainly don't need to go to get a machine shop to do this for you. So I took a half an inch off of it and then just used a wire wheel to kind of soften the sharp edges and remove any burrs that were left. Put this back on. And again, if you have a non-PASM strut, you don't have to do this because you're not going to have this huge dished washer. You're just going to have like a flat washer there, and that's it. Turn that back on. And we don't have to keep this lined up because once we get this tightened up and torqued down, the shaft, again, will rotate independently of this, so we don't have to worry about that. Get my pipe wrench again. Got to adjust it down. I'm going to take advantage of that flat that's on there. So again, we didn't have to worry about lining that up because, I mean, let's say that it was all out of whack here like that. These rotate independently.
Again, refer to my strut video for details on how to put everything back together. YouTube only lets me put an on-screen link one time per video, so you'll have to refer to the video description below to get the link.
Okay, now we're going to take our nuts here on the top, and we're just going to get them on a little ways. We're going to leave some slack. Don't tighten them up all the way. And now we're going to release the jack so that this can sag down a bit. And we're going to go up under here with our wire cutters, and we're going to cut those wire ties loose. All done. Now, we did run into a few problems that were unexpected, but overall, still a fairly easy and straightforward upgrade. Now, the effect of installing the new camber plates has been pretty dramatic. I put the wheels back on, lowered the car to the ground, and kind of rocked it back and forth to settle the suspension into what I call a resting or neutral condition. And then just looking at it, I could see there was a dramatic increase in the negative camber. So then I used one of my favorite new tools, which is this 10 Halsen Automotive camber gauge. And this is an excellent tool. I'm generally not in favor of general purpose tools, or sorry, special purpose, single purpose tools. But this one is so well designed that it's just a joy to use. It's so simple, so accurate. The digital angle gauge that comes with it is the best one I've ever seen. It's self-calibrating. I don't mean you put it on something level and it adjusts, it zeroes itself to that surface. And it'll do that. but it's self-calibrated. You don't have to have a perfectly level surface to calibrate it against to even use it. So yeah, really well designed, very intelligently designed, easy to use. So far, I'm super happy with this thing. So anyhow, I put it on the car and measured off the camber, and I had gained right around 1.5 degrees of extra camber. So I was right up there at the 2-degree range, which is a little less than I was hoping for. Now, the reason we didn't get the full 2-degree adjustment that I wanted to get was because of the design of the camber plate. And what happens is, you know how we cut off part of that washer because it was hitting the body and not letting the camber plate slide enough toward the middle of the car. Well, it also happens on the tip or the inside tip of the camber plate. The plate itself runs into part of the body. And I don't know exactly why it's designed that way because really that upper tip should be rounded off or cut off much more sharply. And that edge pulled back that would give it the ability to fully shift all the way toward the middle of the car. Now, you would, if you redesigned it that way, you would lose part of the camber adjustment range, but it will be in the positive camber area. In other words, tilting the top of the wheel way out. And I don't know offhand of a circumstance where you would ever want to do that. Maybe a little bit of positive camber in certain situations, but generally, no, your camber is always negative. So when I pull this thing apart in a couple of weeks and install the new lowering springs that are coming in a few days, I might get brave and actually cut or machine off that leading tip to see what effect it has. I'm also going to check with Elephant Racing, get their feedback on it, and say, how come you haven't designed it so that it doesn't hit the body, or were you even aware that it hits the body? And would it be possible for me to just kind of shave that off? I think it won't be a big deal, but we'll see what they say. So overall, I have to give the Elephant Racing camber plates a modest thumbs up. They seem to be very well designed, very well made, high quality. I also like the fact that the rubber bushing has been replaced with, I think it's called a spherical monoball, which is much more rigid, keeps the suspension from flexing and deforming during hard cornering. That should make an improvement on the cornering ability of the Cayman. Like I said, overall, seems to be very high quality product. My only issue is they don't seem to have, well, mainly that the installation instructions are very sparse, almost non-existent, and they don't address anything that's vehicle specific. And the fact that it doesn't address the special condition, or maybe they don't even know about the special condition with that washer in a PASM car, and the fact that the plate runs into the body, and I'm going to have to maybe modify that. All that has kind of tempered my enthusiasm for it. Overall, I like it, but there are these things about it that kind of knock down my rating of it. But overall, well made, just not too sure if they're worth the $600 price tag. I think it was $600. Now, before you go down there, smash that thumbs up button, put a like on this video. I cannot tell you how much it helps with YouTube and growing the channel and letting me produce more content like this. And go check that subscribe button down there. If it's red, that means that you're either never subscribed or you've been unsubscribed, which happens more than you think. So if you're not a subscriber, please go down there, click on that big red subscribe button. It helps even more in terms of my ability to grow the channel. And finally, if you want to keep up with all the mods that I'm doing on the Cayman, other things around the garage, other cars that I'm working on, other projects I'm working on, go click on that bell icon. That turns on notifications for this channel. And that way YouTube will let you know every time that I post something new from here in Cliff's Garage. I'll see you next time.